Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
So let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week? Now, in the new Showtime series, The First Lady, award winning actress Viola Davis took on the lofty role of portraying former First Lady Michelle Obama. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Davis stated, "There's a lot of fear that I messed up my portrayal of Michelle Obama. She's an icon. Everyone knows what she looks like and what she sounds like, so I am absolutely terrified. But I'm mostly terrified about what she will think. I don't want to insult her and have her calling me. I got to make a sister look good. I just hope that it lands with her." However, many have come to criticize the show and Davis's performance. Some critics believe the show to be so bad it's baffling. And many went on Twitter to voice how distracting Davis's expressions were, such as one user who tweeted, quote, "I'm embarrassed and legitimately surprised that everyone who saw Viola Davis make that face let it stand, including Viola Davis. Like, why?" In an interview with BBC News, Davis responded to the criticism, stating, quote, "It's incredibly harmful when people say negative things about your work. Not everything is going to be an award-worthy performance. Critics absolutely serve no purpose. They always feel like they're telling you something that you don't know. Somehow that you're living a life that you're surrounded by people who lie to you. So it gives them an opportunity to be cruel to you. But ultimately, I feel like it's my job as a leader to make bold choices. Win or fail, it's my duty to do that." Now, Daquan, I wanted to ask you, is the criticism of Viola Davis's portrayal of Michelle Obama warranted?
So I haven't seen the entire series or full episodes of The First Lady or anything like that, but I have saw clips of it. And I will say, my first reaction was like, in the words of Tatiana, choices. Because
Yeah,
there was definitely choices that have been made, choices that I may not have made, choices
yeah,
that, doesn't resonate with me, but it's a choice that was made.
yeah,
And that's the end of it. And of course, Black Twitter is going to Black Twitter. Black
yeah,
Twitter is going to put all the memes, all the jokes, all the whatever.
yeah,
But I do think that an important part of this conversation is just realizing all the stakes and stakeholders in this situation. Yes, Viola Davis did the face, and it was pretty distracting from the clips that I saw. But Viola Davis is the only person a part of this production.
mm-hmm,
And we don't have any knowledge of behind the scenes of who made the decision to have Viola purse her lips like that, or who's were telling her to do it, or anything like that, and why they kept it in, or did anybody try to change it, or anything like that. We don't have that behind the scenes knowledge.
mm-hmm,
And so I do think that we have to realize that even though Viola Davis is a literal legend, an icon, a powerhouse when it comes to acting and television and movies and all of that, she's still a Black woman in Hollywood. So
mm-hmm,
there's a part of me that is like, yes, she made a choice, but we don't know if that choice was hers. And if she did go up against that choice, yes, she has all of this power being influential in the acting world, but she's also still a Black woman.
yeah,
And we've seen time and time again that even the most powerful Black women in acting and comedy, they can still get blackballed by Hollywood for being too loud, being too opinionated, being too aggressive, and anything like that. And especially for someone like Viola, who faces a lot of colorism, and how so many dark skinned Black women face that masculinization and how they're aggressive and too
mm-hmm,
opinionated, too loud. I
mm-hmm,
do think that this is a conversation that is extremely nuanced. Yes, jokes every now and then can be fine, but I do think that there is a time when jokes can hurt.
mm-hmm,
And I also think that as someone who's creative, my biggest pet peeve, and we've talked about this before, but my biggest pet peeve is people being like telling me things, giving me suggestions, and they've never been in my art. They've never done it. They've never
Yeah.
practiced the craft or anything. And it's
Yeah.
like I said, Viola Davis is a legend. So who are you to tell Viola Davis how to act? And like she said in the interview, not every not every performance is going to be Oscar worthy. Not
Yeah.
every performance is going to be Emmy worthy. And so when you have that pressure of literally being a legend and you have, a performance that's not as good, it can really blow up. And that pressure just culminates on you. So I think that yes, some of the criticism is warranted because it was a choice that was distracting for people. And if
Yeah.
it took people out of that world, like that's a valid critique. However, it's all about how you go about giving that criticism and if, you are the person to be giving that criticism at all.
Yeah. Let me just say this and get this out of the way. Viola Davis is a bad bitch.
Period.
Has always been a bad bitch and will forever be a bad bitch. Now, we all know that Black people and people of color, specifically Black women, are scrutinized to a higher degree than others. However, in
Mhm.
this case, I think that the criticism is warranted, but it's not being directed properly. Viola Davis's characterization of Michelle Obama was definitely not my favorite interpretation of an actor portraying another person. But I think that people are forgetting that there are multiple steps to a TV and movie production process, kind of like what you were touching on a little bit. And I'm sure that two-time Tony Award winning, primetime Emmy Award winning, Academy Award winning, the first African American and youngest person to reach the triple crown of acting, Viola Davis, didn't achieve these iconic feats from refusing to take constructive criticism and adjusting her performances accordingly. The only person I blame for how this whole performance turned out is the director, Suzanne Bier. It was her job to ensure that her actors were delivering their best performances. And when an actor may be doing too much or taking a wrong turn with the character, it's her job to bring them back on course. There's a reason that TV shoot days take hours and hours to film. And it's not simply because of lighting or staging, but also because the director has actors do these scenes multiple times over with the intention of cultivating the performance that they feel is most honest and true to the character. Viola Davis may have had a hand in how her performance turned out, but the person who was supposed to lead the series and steer the ship was Suzanne Bier, and she set sail in the wrong waters. Miss Bier was directing a TV show that was based on real people and should have done her part in researching those characters and mannerisms to ensure that her actors were portraying these people in the most authentic way they could, regardless of where you stand on Viola Davis's performances, or performance in this case. Let's not put the blame on her entirely, as there were several people involved in cultivating the persona of Michelle Obama in this series. Artists as a whole will always receive critique for their work. It's the name of the game. But when critiquing someone's work, some people overlap into bashing, and that's never okay.
Right.
Critique helps us grow and develop our craft because it's more descriptive and balanced. Like, I enjoyed this aspect of your art, but I feel that this part here could have improved if you tried this method instead. Whereas criticism, like what many people are doing to Viola Davis, is judgmental and it's focused on finding fault alone. For example, your art doesn't make sense and I don't like it. Both of these are examples of feedback, but only one of them is actually helpful. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I want to ask you, Daquon, do you think that critique is necessary for an artist to become better at their work? And how should artists take or apply that for feedback if they do?
Absolutely. I think that any artist that doesn't take critique is never going to grow as an artist,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to things where your art is being consumed by others.
Yeah.
You can't really know if your vision is translating to other people unless you ask other people. And you're
Yeah.
never going to grow as an artist unless you ask for suggestions, unless you learn from other people and master different techniques. Because I know for me, there has been plenty of times when I've done something and I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is it. I love this piece of writing, or I love this look that I did. But there are still ways that I can improve upon. And, I've done so many different writing workshops when I was a creative writing major, and it helped me grow as a writer because those were focused on critiques rather than
Mm-hmm.
criticism. It was
Mm-hmm.
focusing on, these are the aspects that I like. Here is something that didn't necessarily get. I want to question you further. And like, maybe if this was your intention, draw it out or figure out a way to make that more clear. Or if you didn't want it to be clear, then like, that's perfectly fine too. And as an artist, you also have to find that balance of figuring out what critique is for you and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
If I did something and it was an intentional choice and people didn't like it, I did that intentionally.
Yeah.
It may not have been your cup of tea, it may not have been your zhuzh, but I did that for a reason.
Yeah.
And so not everybody is going to completely understand what you are doing. And that's fine because art is so subjective. And there are so many different ways of viewing art, viewing somebody's performance or whatever, that it's not going to resonate the same way in everybody. So you have to figure, what is a legitimate critique that I should take? What is something that, I don't want a suggestion about this because this was something that I wanted to do and I enjoyed it. And for me, it served its purpose. And that's all
Yeah.
that matters.
I agree. I think that as an artist, sometimes our work is really close to our heart. It's really, really hard to hear someone talk about your baby because it's basically an extension of you. It's your heart outside of your body because it's
Artists are
your
sensitive about their shit.
exactly. And I think that oftentimes, I think that there's a problem sometimes with some artists who refuse to allow that criticism or, like, excuse me, allow that critique to help them cultivate and grow and to make themselves a better artist and to amplify their skills in certain areas. For me as a writer, one of the hardest parts about writing is letting someone else read your work and wondering whether
Mhm.
or not they understand where you were going, if they understood your intention. And a lot of times we are afraid of hearing that, or we are defensive of it because we're like, well, this is my art. How I express is how I expressed it. But I think there's also a reality of being able to look at your work objectively and be able to understand where this criticism, where this critique actually fits in. So, what I've had to come to terms with in my craft is that I've always said, for me, as long as the critique doesn't mess with the integrity of my piece, then I have no problem with looking about how to apply that feedback, if that makes any
Mm.
sense. So for me, like my main character, for instance, is a Black gay man, right? And if somebody was like, well, he should be white or he should be whatever, no, that's fucking with the integrity of my work. I wrote it from a Black gay male perspective, and that's how it's gonna stay. But whereas somebody's saying, this plot point didn't really match up with this one, or you missed this line here to connect to this, or this part of this section runs a little long. You might want to try to trim that up a little bit or make it a little more tight. That is a critique that can help me make my work more clear, more concise, more get my intention across more clearly. So I think that there is a level of discernment that you have to have when it comes to your work and it comes to your performances and such, and understand when those critiques are benefiting you or when they can benefit you and when they're just someone talking shit.